Would you believe me if I told you there was a film where 4 Final Destination extras get onto a plane piloted by Megan Fox's clone, and then they get attacked by a tentacle monster? No, it's not a joke. This film exists. Let's talk about Altitude. Now, I'm sure you're wondering why I'm talking about this obscure horror film from over 10 years ago. Well, it's quite simple. A couple of nights ago, I was lying in bed when suddenly I remember sitting in an English lesson and this scene was on the projector.
Well, play with something else. Don't encourage him.
Yeah. I don't know why I remembered it. It was like midnight. But anyway, I then picked up my phone and I spent about an hour or two searching online for the film. You know, I'm just looking through lists of films about airplanes because I couldn't remember pretty much anything else about the film. And then suddenly, I found it. And all these memories came flooding back. And it was such a shit show that I had to look it out. I had to search it out. So I found the film and I watched it again. And now I would like to share it with you. This masterpiece. A little bit of a side note before I get into the main review. These posters are really weird. I found 2 of them while editing, and one of them lists 4 of the main 5 cast, and the other one's the really weird one. It lists the 2 girls who are both on the poster, and then it lists Ryan Donahue. Donahue? I suppose that's how you say his name. Ryan Donahue, who plays the leather jacket guy, but he's not on the poster. So I don't get it. Unless they count right over there in the corner where he's hanging out of the plane. These two different posters, neither of them mention Jake Weary, and one of them has someone like listed as top billing who's not even on the poster. I don't get it. This film is so weird, and even the marketing around it is weird. I love it. It's so strange. So what I'm going to do now is break down the events of the whole film. So I'm going to warn you, there are going to be some spoilers. Well, I'm going to spoil the entire film. And I do honestly recommend that you go out and watch it. Whether or not you watch it before watching this video, up to you. So the film begins with a weird dream sequence looking flashback set on a plane where some little kids reading a comic book and then suddenly they get kamikazed. After a bit of fooling, we flash forward to Megan Fox's clone sitting sideways on a toilet watching a slideshow on her 2010 iPhone. Now I want to talk a little bit about this. She wasn't on the plane, so I don't know why the flashback would flash forward to her. The flashback looks more like a dream sequence because it's got this weird bloom filter on it. It's a very, very strange decision, and I'm not 100% sure why they did it. It's obviously meant to just set up, hey, this is Sarah. The clone's name is Sarah. This is Sarah, and this is her mother, and her mother's dead, and this is how her mother died. It's important for reasons. Anyway. She then gets a silent phone call from the Colonel. The Colonel's her dad, and he sounds really bored while talking to her on the phone. It's like they paid the actor a very small amount to do it, and he just felt obligated to do this phone call. So he's in the film for like a minute, and he just looks bored, and honestly just kind of depressed. Anyway, they have this really awkward conversation, and it just sets up the events. Oh, she's going to a concert and moving away in a few weeks. She pouts into the mirror and then it's revealed. She's not at a petrol station or anything like that. This toilet's on an airbase. She's going to fly to the concert. Now we're done with introducing the boring characters. We're finally introduced to the best character in the film. My boy, Sal. Now you might recognize Sal, the nature boy himself. Sal's been in a couple of other films, you know. He's played a very similar character in those top quality Fred movies. He plays Kevin in them, you know, the bully?
Mr. Devlin and his undead partner, Kevin.
Sal is the only reason I actually really love this film. He's the only reason I remembered this film. Sal is, I guess, the comic relief character, but he's also kind of the antagonistic character. He falls into like a really weird category. He's like the jock, but he's meant to be friends with everyone. It's just great. I love him. He's the best part of the film. Anyway, Sal molests his girlfriend a bit, because he is the jock, and then he calls this random fat guy Bin Laden. I don't know why. He just does.
Whoa, Bin Laden, what's up, man?
The guy doesn't look anything like Bin Laden. He's just some random fat guy. The most forgettable character then arrives, and then Sal makes another terrorist joke before there's some sexual tension between this new emo music man and Sal's girlfriend. Oh, who just carries around a camcorder because she's meant to be a film major. I don't know why. Doesn't really add anything to the story. She's just a film major. I guess they decided to give her that instead of giving her a personality. The film makes a big deal about pointing out the carabiners that are on this guy's bag. Ooh, he's the dangerous rock climbing boy, He's dangerous and he's edgy and he's got hardcore climbing skills, parkour legend. Yeah, that's it. Then your boy Sal drinks another beer and does some more molesting. It's currently his main character traits. Molestation and alcohol. I like him. He's a nice dude. Sarah shows up and it's revealed that their high-octane concert is Coldplay.
Coldplay, here we come.
They keep making this big deal like this is a huge thing. And they talk about crowd surfing and stuff. It's Coldplay. Does Coldplay have like a single like energizing song? I get it. Some people like Coldplay, but I don't. No, I don't get it. I just don't get it. We then hear Sal's catchphrase for the first time. And it brings a tear to my eye every time I hear it. That's right, he woos. And he woos a lot.
Left back there. Hey, tone out of 85.
Finally, our last character arrives. Bruce, the creepy kid. He acts weird, and then Sarah gives him like an awkward peck before introducing him to the others. Sal decides to make things awkward for no reason and brings up that Sarah's mother died in a plane crash. Like, we know it was established at the beginning of the film.
Hey, so Sarah, the general's cool with this all, right?
Cool with what?
Being the whole sky captain thing. It didn't really work out too well for your mom, so...
But it seems like a really awkward thing to do. Hey, Sarah, I know you're going to fly us to the hardcore Coldplay concert. But should you really be flying, what with your mother dying in a plane? Are you sure that you're that good? Or is like dying in planes genetic? Weird. A lot of this film is honestly quite uncomfortable to watch. None of the actors, except for Sal, actually, have any kind of charisma or real on-screen presence. And specifically, the guy that plays Bruce is pretty painful to watch at times. A lot of the dialogue is just kind of dull until like Sal interrupts the film and just starts being weird. The film seems to know that Sal is like the best part of the film, so they do make him front and center for most of the film, which is nice, It's what made me remember it, and it's why I actually like this film quite a lot. Anyway, back to the film. The gang is all here now. So they start heading up to the plane. This shot lasts for about 27 seconds. And it's just of Sarah walking to the hangar door and then opening it. And honestly, it baffles me. I don't understand why they would do this. It looks like a superhero team reveal. And there's like the music in the background just sounds kind of mystical. It doesn't like build tension or anything. It's a really weird choice. And the music just doesn't fit the kind of tone I think they're trying to go for. Sal, Mr. Boy Band, and the film major get on the plane and make a big deal about how small it is, while Bruce stands off and stares at them all while looking really creepy. Sarah's talking to, goes off to talk to him, to like try make him not be creepy, I guess. And it's told to the audience that Bruce just showed up one day, and it's blatant that his parents are dead. They basically say, yeah, his parents are dead. Now, wait a minute. Wait a minute. We got shown a weird little boy at the beginning with two parents in this plane, and this plane crashed. Wait a minute. My almonds are activating. My noggin is jogging! Sarah runs up to Bruce and tells him to hurry up. They have a short conversation where we get told again that she's moving away and that blatantly she's leaving him when she goes, but he doesn't seem to get it. Again, Bruce just is annoying through the whole film. I don't like Bruce. He's the part of the film that brings it down for me. Bruce acts even creepier. Again, he's getting upset about her saying that she's moving away and starts talking about Sal. So Sarah gives him another peck on another little like peck kiss to just make him shut the fuck up. Now we're finally on the plane and only 11 minutes into this film. They start getting ready for takeoff and get shown this close-up of a loose bolt rattling around. There's some small romantic, big quotation marks, banter on the plane between Emo McSwoop Boy and Camcorder Girl. Bruce then interrupts him thinking he's on the shitty internet game show Actually, and everyone ignores him, as they really should. Sal continues to be the only entertaining part in this film, as they establish that Blondie gets motion sickness and has medication for it. I wonder why they're bringing up a bottle of pills. At least they know they have to establish these things long before they use them. There's a lot of films where they just don't bother doing it, and at least they seem to know the basics. There's a lot of stuff with the story that I don't like, but then again, there's a lot of that I think is quite clever. Bruce continues being an annoying bitch, but luckily his whining is interrupted by Sal. Oh, magnificent Sal, who starts to play with a parachute, which leads into the whole reason I even remembered this film. They finally take off with what sounds like one of the kitchen nightmare sound effects playing in the background. I mean, listen to this. Bruce seems like he's going to have a panic attack. He starts shaking and staring off in the distance. Not a whole lot happens. A lot of boring nothing happens between the part where they take off and the first conflict of the film, where Sarah gives Bruce a comic book. And for some reason he starts acting like a gremlin when Leather Jacket Guy says, "Hey, can I see your comic book?" And then Sal starts memeing him. Sarah, for some reason, decides to give the guy who's obviously scared of flying controls, and he immediately tries to kamikaze the plane into the ground. Sarah then realizes, hey, maybe I shouldn't have done that, and takes the controls back. Sal, understandably a bit freaked out, kind of acts like an asshole, takes the comic and rips it in retaliation.
It's ripped.
We're then told, because for some reason his bus ticket's in the comic book, that Bruce was going to go stalk Sarah to Montreal. I don't really get this bit. I don't know why he gets the comic book and immediately puts a bus ticket in it. Like, why would you carry a bus ticket around? It's just stupid. Anyway, Sarah gets upset at him for some reason. Oh yeah, because she found out that he's even creepier than she thought. And they see this big cloud. So Sarah's like, ooh, I'm not instrument rated, so I'm going to fly above a cloud. They start flying above, and the bolt falls out and gets stuck in the elevator, so they're stuck permanently going up. This is the start of the bad event, so it starts getting darker in the plane. And I think this is an appropriate time to bring up one of my nitpicks when it comes to the cinematography on the plane. The characters often talk about how small and cramped the plane is, but honestly, it doesn't feel like that at any point in the film. In fact, as the film goes on, the plane seems to get bigger, and it looks bigger. Nothing about the way the film is shot or how the set is lit makes the plane look or feel smaller or more claustrophobic, and surely that's what you want in a horror film set? This horror film is set on a small, plane. They call it a puddle jumper at one point. Honestly, the way you should do this is try cram people in together, use very close shots, try to make the plane look as small and cramped as possible, have people constantly bumping into each other, which they do, but the way it's lit and the way it's shot makes it look like a comedy. It feels like the driving sections in sitcoms, especially like the way that they often shoot everyone in the plane. Why not bring the camera in closer, dim the lights inside the plane, have these very dark, claustrophobic areas, of the plane. Maybe use some red emergency lights, because the red lighting will make it feel like cramped. Hell, I remember in the beginning of Predator, it feels very, very small and claustrophobic. And I think that would have been perfect for this film. You say it's the emergency lights, whatever. Start using that when it gets later into the film. Instead, they use these like very warm yellow lights at one point. And it's just like, okay, now this feels kind of cozy. I'm not scared. There's no real tension in there. And it's just a waste. You could have built up a lot more tension by making the audience feel claustrophobic. The film does get a lot darker, but there's still enough light coming in through the windows and in the cabin of the plane. The film does get a lot darker, but there's still a lot of light coming in through the windows. Now, the cabin of the plane itself still looks really big. Sarah now starts to hear strange noises over the radio, and then there's suddenly a bunch of these constantly panning shots of the gang arguing, and it's kind of disorientating, honestly. They decide to throw their luggage out of the plane so that they can get a bit lighter, and then Sal sees the first sign of the giant hentai monster in heaven. He gets pretty spooked out before deciding to keep his beer and wooing some more.
Hey, well, I'm keeping something too, huh?
This is what I mean, actually. There's such a disconnect with the tone sometimes. You're meant to have this character get kind of freaked out and spooked, but 2 seconds later he's going, well, I keep something as well then, and woos. What's going on? What is going on? Captain Emo Hair says, nah mate, I'm keeping my rock climbing gear. Why do you need rock climbing gear in a plane? Why do you need to keep that? They have a bunch of childish arguments before Bruce, like out of nowhere, just has a panic attack and starts flailing his arms around. So Sal, the gentle Sal, calms him down with the same love and care that you would calm down a child. The same way Alex Jones gets calmed down by Eddie Bravo with a peaceful and loving chokehold. Oh, and then Sal practices his bondage skills on him and ties him up. The Value Variety Scooby-Doo gang then decides to send someone out of the plane to unjam the tail. The self-professed professional rock climber decides to go, and he ties the end of a rope to handle in the plane. Question here. So he had 2 ropes in his rock climbing kit, not just one, because they needed 1 rope to tie up Brucey Boy. So I guess he has 2. Anyway, it doesn't matter. It's stupid. Camera girl decides to give him a little old smooch, and Sal's like, "Ooh, no," which seems really dumb. Oh, I'm gonna cuck the guy who's gonna be holding, who's gonna have to pull me back into the plane. Seems pretty fucking stupid. Anyway, your boy Sal is anchoring him inside the plane, and the film plays it up to be really tense and epic. But he immediately lets go and just goes flying back of the plane. So I assume he snapped his spine, literally going at terminal velocity and then stopping. But wait, never mind, he's actually a superhero and starts pulling himself back. Oh wait, what? No! Oh my god. Miss Camera Girl, the girl who's meant to have been like having a romance with this dude, she's fucking filming his death. Why? Why would you film that? Why would you not just be like worrying, trying to help him? No, I'm gonna film it, mate. This is gonna look great on YouTube. Anyway, it turns out the god of strength manages to pull himself back towards the plane, against the force of a plane flying forward, and kicks the elevator down, so they're free. They can go up and down all they like. He then tries to jump, misses Sal's hand, and gets grabbed by the hentai monster, who tries to pull the sex god himself, Sal, out. Sal, being smarter than any big massive tentacles, cuts himself free and flies back into the plane. Somehow. It's weird. I don't really get this bit, and it just doesn't make a lot of sense, but whatever. Sal stays in the film for a bit longer, so I'm happy. By the way, this is also the first time we get a proper look at the tentacle monster. I keep saying hentai, I should probably stop saying hentai. Anyway, this is the first time we get a good look at the tentacle monster. And to be fair, it looks pretty good. I'm quite impressed with the way it looks. Sarah finally decides to turn the lights on in the plane. I have no idea why she didn't bother turning the lights on earlier, but she turns the lights on now. I guess her cousin's dead, so she's a bit happier to turn the lights on. And this makes the plane look even bigger. Like I said, as the film goes on, the plane just seems to look bigger and bigger. So the lights are now on, and the plane looks bigger, and Brucey Boy wakes up. He finds out that that guitar guy's dead. I honestly still can't remember his name. Oh, and that there's a flying tentacle monster attacking the plane. Sarah decides to get the truth out of her tied-up boy toy, and Bruce reveals that he is in fact twice as creepy as we thought, because it means he's been stalking the daughter of the woman that, to use his exact words, killed my parents. And then he starts reeing. He like has a full meltdown, screeching about how they're meant to be together, and he's just so insufferable. I wish Sal had just punched him in the face and knocked him out. Anyway, she says no and breaks up with him, and he gets really, really, really creepy. It's honestly the creepiest part of the film, and I wish they'd gone further with it and like actually made him that creepy overall. I think he's meant to be sympathetic, but I wish they'd gone over the top and actually made him the straight up villain of the film. I think it could have been a lot more interesting. Anyway, Sarah, realizing that she's actually sharing the plane with a lunatic, starts crying and tries to call for help on the radio. Unfortunately for her, the only person on the radio is Casogatha, and she's not happy. Sarah recognizes the noise and tries to warn the others, but they don't care for some reason. So Sal cracks open a beer, and Casogatha shows up wanting to share. After another short, weird bloom-filled dream sequence memory thing, Sarah wakes up, and I guess they weren't eaten. Like, the last shot is them flying into the tentacle monster's mouth, and then I guess she wasn't eaten. I don't know. Right. Anyway, so next it gets even stupider, and it's kind of confusing because it's all just and then. And a lot of this film seems to just be and then this happens, and then this happens. So, try to stay with me. Bruce practices his Houdini routine and gets free from his ropes, and then Camera Girl, for like no other reason, just decides to overdose on her motion sickness pills. Despite the fact she was in front with Sarah like less than 30 seconds before, she's now in the back of the plane overdosing on pills. So Bruce, who's gotten all the ropes off of him now, despite the fact he'd only got them off his hands, goes over there and performs CPR to save her life. He then, for no reason, decides to just sit on the floor and read the ripped out comic book page. And this scene is beautiful. This scene is art. It's like someone heard the phrase, "Life often imitates art," and thought, that's a great idea for a movie. And that's exactly what happens. Look at this. So anyway, old Brinko Pop does the worst bit of acting in the film.
There's no way. It can't be. There's no way.
I mean, Jesus Christ, this is painful. I think I could do better.
There's no way. It can't be. There's no way.
There's no way. It can't be. There's no way.
There's no way. It can't be. There's no way.
Sal, as annoyed by his acting as me, decides to kill him and throw him off the plane. And we're all on Sal's side at this point. But for some reason, Sarah smashes his head, and then Sal just dies. He doesn't even get eaten by the beast. He just falls out of the plane and dies. Yeah. And this is the part where I tend to lose interest in the film. We get some vaguely Lovecraftian ideas with the whole reality manipulation stuff, which is pretty cool. Bruce turns out he's basically Mac from Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends, and but instead of having Blue as his imaginary friend, it's the hentai monster. So the monster attacks, Sarah kisses him to make him feel happy, and it goes away. Bruce then realizes that she's still going to break up with him, and that she was only really doing it to try save her own life, which is fair enough. And there's this shot, this really weird shot.
You didn't mean it, did you? What? That kiss.
That seems like the film was about to go the way I wanted it to go, where Bruce realizes that she's going to break up with him, and he gets this look on his face where he says, "You didn't mean it, did you?" And everything starts going dark as we go back to evil reality land. It's like, oh, this is cool. He's now going to be the villain, and we get like some cool Chronicles shit, you know? Maybe have Sarah trying to take him out in the plane and ultimately dying, because in Lovecraft the heroes never win. But no. He's just a pathetic. He's just pathetic. He's just a pathetic little worm. And I mean, it could have been so much cooler. I mean, from his perspective, the Jedi are evil. I mean, from his perspective, this girl is the daughter of the woman that ruined his life. And she's the girl of his dreams, and she doesn't even want to be with him. So he takes this petty revenge, and he could have been evil. But no, they try to make him more sympathetic, and he's just not sympathetic. It would have been an interesting idea if they could do it, and it probably would have worked for this film. Oh, never mind. The monster shows up, grabs Sarah. She tells Bruce to believe in the heart of the cards, and that his parents love him. And for some reason, he takes that as, let's go back in time. Oh, so it turns out they were the plane that originally kamikazed the plane he was in. So, in actuality, Bruce, you ruined your own life. But Sarah somehow, this time, gets control of the plane and dodges her mum and Bruce and her parents. Bruce and Sarah go off and crash somewhere in the past, meaning that now they've got some modern technology in the past. It's kind of a happy ending, I guess, then. You know, at least they're dead. Now we get a bit of an epilogue with Sarah's mum and Bruce's parents going, "Oh, I hope they landed safely." And then Bruce meets child Sarah, and he immediately starts creeping her and holding her hands. And that's the end. That's the end of the film. So, that was Altitude. I love it. It's not a good film, technically speaking, and the effects are fine. In fact, I think some of the effects are very, very good, especially for the time. They're not groundbreaking, but they're impressive enough. The film is painfully slow at points, but that never really builds up any kind of an atmosphere, so it feels like a slow pace that just doesn't work. The main cast, for the most part, is fine. Sal, played by Jake Weary, like I said, stands out to me because he's actually just incredibly entertaining. He's legitimately the main reason I enjoy this film, and the reason I will go back and watch it. He honestly has a pretty strong screen presence, and he's got great charisma, so it's just worth watching. On the other end of the spectrum, we have Bruce, who I found pretty uncomfortable to watch a lot of the time. He doesn't give a great performance. A lot of his delivery is pretty stilted and uncomfortable to listen to. He's not even interesting in a bad way. He's not Tommy Wiseau overacting bad. He just kind of says the lines, but I couldn't care less about him, and that kind of makes him the worst part of the film, because you could have had an interesting villain in Bruce instead. Overall, would I recommend Altitude? Yes, definitely. I've made one of my friends watch it already because I love the film so much, and he loved it. I think this is one of the films you could watch with a group of people, and you're just going to have tons of fun ripping the film apart, making fun of it, quoting lines from it, wooing incredibly loudly at each other from across the room. To me, Altitude is the horror version of The Room, and I wouldn't have it any other way. Have you seen Altitude? What did you think of it? Don't forget to leave a like under the video and subscribe if you want to see more from this channel. Come and join my Discord, and thanks for watching. Bye.